In the dense, humming heart of Sant Andreu, a working-class district of Barcelona where cobblestone alleys whispered stories of rebellion and resilience, stood a modest motorcycle repair shop that had, for decades, served as more than just a business. It was a symbol, a sanctuary, a place where a man named Rafael Navarro, a former soldier turned mechanic, found both purpose and peace after returning home from the war in Iraq. Rafael wasn't born into wealth or privilege. His hands bore the scars of hard labor, his posture the discipline of service, and his eyes held a calm, unwavering steel. For years, he had watched his neighborhood crumble beneath the weight of corruption. Businesses closed. Fear spread. The local police, once trusted protectors, became predators. And at the center of it all was Officer Luis Ortega. Luis wasn't the kind of cop who served. He ruled. With a smug grin beneath his badge and a venomous sense of entitlement, he walked the streets not as a guardian, but a warlord. He collected monthly protection fees from small businesses under the pretense of safety. Those who resisted often found their shops vandalized, their inventory mysteriously lost to inspection raids, or worse, fires with no fire trucks in sight. Rafael had known this game. He'd seen similar tactics abroad, under different uniforms. But in his city, in his home, it felt like betrayal wearing the colors of law. On a sweltering Tuesday, Luis walked into Rafael's shop flanked by two junior officers, Mateo and Lucia. The air turned thick with unspoken menace. "Nice place you've got here, Navarro," Luis said, tapping his knuckles on the counter like it was his own. "But times are changing. This neighborhood isn't as safe as it used to be. You might want to consider protection." Rafael looked up from the carburetor he was fixing, his jaw clenched. "I served in Mosul. I've faced IEDs, snipers, and worse. I'll take my chances, officer." Luis smirked, stepping in closer. "That a no? That's a hell no." The silence that followed was volcanic. Luis leaned in, his voice a growl. "Accidents happen, Rafael. Fires break out. Sometimes ambulances get lost." But Rafael didn't blink. "I've buried friends who fought for this country. You're not even a threat. You're a parasite with a badge." Luis's smile disappeared. "We'll see about that." The officers turned and left, but Rafael knew this wasn't over. He bolted the door and took a long breath. He reached for his phone and dialed his son. "Leo, it's Dad. I need you back in Barcelona." Leo Navarro had followed in his father's footsteps and then surpassed them, rising through the ranks to become a commander in Spain's elite special operations. When the call came, Leo didn't hesitate. He was on the next flight home. Meanwhile, word of Rafael's confrontation spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. An elderly woman named Teresa, a lifelong friend of Rafael's, was the first to act. She gathered neighbors in front of the police precinct and demanded Rafael's release after Luis, in retaliation, had him arrested on fabricated charges the very next day. Inside the cold, damp holding cell, Rafael sat on a steel bench, his wrists aching from tight cuffs. But he wasn't broken. He was planning. The same instincts that had kept him alive in war now fueled a new mission. As the hours dragged on, he called again. "Leo, they've locked me up. Ortega and his crew. I need your help." Leo arrived the next morning. The same streets he once played on as a child now seemed foreign. There were shutters where there used to be open cafes. Locks where there once was laughter. At the precinct, Leo found an old friend, Officer Marco Silva. They'd trained together years ago before taking different paths. "Marco, I need the truth. What's happening here?" Marco looked around and whispered, "Luis is running a network. He's connected to organized crime. Your dad stood up to him, and now they're trying to silence him." Leo's eyes narrowed. "Where's the proof?" Marco hesitated. "There's a file. Ortega keeps records, money trails, names, everything. But it's locked in his office." "Then I'll get it," Leo said simply. That night, using every skill he'd mastered in the field, Leo infiltrated the precinct. Silent, focused, he found Ortega's office and sifted through locked drawers until he found the motherlode. Records of extortion payments, voice memos, even photos of Ortega meeting with known cartel members. But just as he was leaving, voices neared. You think Navarro's going to talk? Mateo's voice said. If he does, we're screwed. We can't let that happen, Luis replied. Maybe a little accident can shut him up permanently. Leo clenched the folder and slipped out, unseen. Back at the shop, he laid everything out for Raphael. This is it, Dad. We take this public. Raphael nodded. Not just public. We mobilized the community. They called a meeting. Word spread fast. That Friday night, the repair shop overflowed with neighbors. Mechanics, teachers, bakers, immigrants, musicians, all tired of fear. Raphael addressed them. For years, we've been bullied, intimidated, robbed. But we have the truth now. We have proof. And we have each other. The room erupted in applause. Leo took the floor next. If we organize, if we protest, if we speak out, they can't ignore us. They can't silence all of us. And so, they marched, peacefully, powerfully. The media took notice. Then national news picked up the story. Suddenly, Luis Ortega wasn't just a dirty cop. He was a symbol of everything wrong with institutional rot. Inside the precinct, the panic was rising. Luis held a secret meeting with Mateo and Lucia. He's former special forces, Luis hissed. He's not going to stop. Lucia suggested negotiation. Mateo said, he's a threat. But then, something unexpected happened. Luis Ortega, once the embodiment of corruption, broke. I'll testify, he said. If I can get protection for my family, I'll take this whole thing down. His colleagues were stunned. You're betraying us, Mateo said, furious. I'm protecting my daughter, Luis replied, and trying to be something better than I've been. As the trial loomed, the threats against Luis mounted. He found a note under his windshield one morning. Speak, and you die. He shook, but he didn't stop. In the days that followed, Diego and Rafael expanded the investigation. They discovered that Ortega's operation extended far beyond Barcelona, into Italy, France, and Eastern Europe. Drug trafficking, arms deals. The rot was continental. On the day of the hearing, the courthouse was packed. Rafael and Leo sat in the front row, surrounded by neighbors who had once been afraid, but not anymore. Luis took the stand. His voice shook at first, but the truth gave him strength. I abused my position. I extorted, I threatened. I was part of a machine, but I can't live with this anymore. This community deserves justice. The prosecution presented Leo's evidence. Wire transfers, hidden recordings, photos of meetings in dark alleyways. It was undeniable. Then Rafael spoke. I was threatened, arrested, humiliated. But I never backed down, because my father taught me that integrity doesn't bend. After 3 long days, the jury returned. We find the defendants guilty on all charges. The courtroom erupted in cheers. Ortega was taken away, along with Mateo, Lucia, and several others. Even Mayor Valeria Montero, long suspected of turning a blind eye, was indicted. That night, Barcelona celebrated, not with parades, but with peace. Lights returned to businesses that had long stayed dark. Laughter returned to plazas that had fallen quiet. Raphael's shop remained open late, not for repairs, but for joy. Leo stood beside his father, watching the street they had fought to save. This isn't over, Leo said. We have to keep going. Keep them honest. Raphael nodded. We will. Their story echoed far beyond Sant Andreu. Cities across Spain began organizing. Whistleblowers stepped forward. The movement that began in a motorcycle shop spread like wildfire. But the lesson wasn't about motorcycles or even corruption. It was about courage, about a father who refused to be broken, about a son who came home not to fight a war, but to end one. And about a community that remembered its voice. When asked later why he never gave up, Raphael said simply, because this is home. And you fight for home. And they did, together.